But
No.
Mojo's got a really cool hand here because I remember from last week I definitely wanted to get it on. So where's this played out of?
I'm actually based in Virginia Beach.
How deep are you?
The main villain I cover, but he's got 1.3K
And this is a 1-3
effective.
game. 1-3 game?
Yep.
All right. So
Yeah, so
1.35.
it's 1.3.
1-3. Okay.
500 is the max until it starts getting like pretty deep, and then it's like a very loose 500 max.
Okay. So you can go
Once it starts getting deeper, people are
cover.
buying in for
Nice.
1,000. But yeah,
It's like a match the stack almost. That's great.
yeah, it's basically like a match the stack, especially if you get the right people at the table.
Yep. Okay.
So UTG opens to 15.
Mm-hmm.
Hijack 3 bets to 50, which is pretty standard here.
Okay.
And then I'm in the big blind with 8 of clubs, 8 of diamonds.
Uh-huh.
And I really try to avoid flatting 3 bets, but being so deep, I just kind of figured like I knew at UTG he's like another reg there, and I knew he's only ever 4 betting aces and kings. Like even ace, king, and queens are just going to be a call.
Right. So that's
So
as I said in the email, and I've talked about this before. I always use the example, and I did this a couple times on some hands that I played on live at the bike. And I used Big John. I think Big John's played on Hustler Casino. Actually, Big John's a regular on Hustler Casino Live now too. So in general, you want to avoid obviously calling 3 bets cold, but there are times you can do it. And the times that you can do it are when you know that the initial opener is only going to 4-bet like aces and kings. And there are some people like that. And this is kind of what it sounds like, right? To you?
yeah, I was like even queens, like he's just going to call.
Yeah. So, but then if
So
you're playing against aware people like a Garrett or an Andy, they're just going to make your life miserable. I actually folded pocket tens in the big blind the last time I was on live stream a couple weeks ago at the Palms to what I thought to an under the gun open. And I think it was either a small blind or a button 3-bet which was not a squeeze scenario. And I was like, oh, this is, and I just folded. So under the gun to 15, hijack to 50, you call in the big blind. Okay.
and then UTG folds.
Oh, UGG folds. Okay.
Yeah, he folds right away.
So the pot is what, like 115 or 120 or something like that?
Yeah, it's like 115. Yeah.
Did they take a rake in this game, by the way, in Virginia?
They do. The rake, it's like a max of $5, but it's like I think it's like 2% of the pot. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like max of $5 in this game.
By the way, in order for me to also set mine here, I would want to have that hijack be a type of player that's just never folding an overpair if I flop a set. You know?
Yeah, so I actually had never played with this guy before. He was new to playing around here, especially like talking to some people afterwards. They had no clue who he was either, so I had like no specific read on him.
Okay.
But the flop comes Queen of Hearts, Jack of Hearts, 8 of Hearts.
So you flop bottom set on a monotone board, right?
I do. Yeah.
By the way, there's some like troll in the YouTube comment section from my last video that keeps saying that this is called monochrome, not monotone. And it's like all poker terms are made up, guys. I mean, this is what I don't care what the word is. If people know this as monotone. Yes, I know that tone might mean 2 reds. Big deal. It doesn't mean anything if it's a diamond heart, right? We should go to 4-color decks, right? So you flop bottom set here, and it's a monotone board with a straight out there.
Yep.
Okay, but of course the guy could have queens or jacks too, right?
Yeah, that's why, especially playing this deep, I'm checking my whole entire range to him. But when I check, he throws out a bet of 60.
60?
So $60. Yep.
Okay. Yep.
So I mean, I figured like even like aces and kings or ace king with a heart is always going to see bet this board. And being that deep, I didn't really want to check raise because I'm even like against those hands. I might be a slightly ahead, but we're playing so deep. I figured I'd just call, wait for a safe turn card.
It is interesting because there's a couple of bad things going for you here. You're out of position, right? So you're out of position. Yep. So, if you wait for a safe turn card, and then this used to be a thing that I used to poo back in the day, like 5-10 years ago, before a lot of computer raw data came out with, solver stuff, where I was like, you don't really wait for a safe card, but actually when you're deep, you do a lot of the time. And I think what you had said, you bring up a point that here's the scenario where calling is better than raising. if the guy is ever going to bet fold like black aces, black kings, or like a queen, ace queen, no heart, something like that through a check raise, and the only action that you're really going to get is when you're beat or somebody has a massive amount of equity against you, that is where where it might be just a better call. But again, like if you wait for a safe turn card in it, he could just take a card here too. So it is interesting because this is sort of unorthodox, the fact that you have flatted in the blind. I think in general, if you're super deep and the board is monotone and two of the higher sets are in the pre-flop range, like credibly in the pre-flop raisers range, which they are here, right? Queens and jacks.
Yeah.
Then I have no problem just check calling. Like you said, ace, king, any heart has a bunch of equity against you here too. So you make the call.
Yeah, I was like,
yep.
So I make the call, and I see a turn card that I love. It's the 3 of clubs, complete brick.
All right, so 3 of clubs comes out here. Yep.
And I was actually planning on check raising this turn card. And
check raising, that's interesting. You mean just because, boy, again, though, if you check raise this is why it's so hard to play this hand, right? If you check raise the turn, what hands are giving you action?
I mean, I really thought this guy wouldn't fold an overpair. Like, even like black aces, I just think some like the player types in this game are just never folding aces or kings. I think they just get married to their hand and are going to call all the way down.
You think that like black aces or black kings are now going to call your check raise as opposed to like on the flop? Because it looks even stronger here if it goes check call check raise. I think.
Yeah.
I just think that like playing like in a game like this, if I'm in your opponent's spot and I'm just like, oh, I'll just continue to bet off aces here, and then all of a sudden a guy check raises me on the turn, and you flat called 3 bets cold, that's really, really strong. In my opinion.
That makes sense. No, that definitely makes sense.
But that didn't happen? It went check check or what?
No, it went check check, yeah. Still in check
so that's good for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident now.
Yep. Okay, so the pot remains $240. Okay, let's go to the river here. Yep.
And the river is the king of diamonds.
King of diamonds, okay.
Yep. So I figured like even like his ace king give ups or like any like give ups now maybe usually make a pair here on the king of diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Like ace king with the ace or king of hearts.
Yeah,
just trying to realize a free card now makes a pair.
He also can be pot controlling hands too. Like he might not want to put more money in with like aces, black aces or something like that. You know what I mean? Ace queen with no heart because of your call on the flop.
So I go ahead and bet out 125.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, just trying to get called by worse, but
yeah.
And then he jams over the top for a little bit under $1,200.
Wow. So hijack jams for $1,200 here. Now, by the way, I gave Mojo, you can confirm what I'm about to say, right? I wrote back to you what I thought about this hand, and I'm going to say exactly what I said in the email here too. This is very, very strange. Now, the raise in itself on the river is so large that you're getting obviously horrible pot odds because it looks like it's going to be about 1,700, like 1,100 to call, something like that, right?
It's just under. It's like 1,050 to call.
Yeah, like 1,700 in the pot, 1,050 to call. So you're getting less than 1.5 to 1 here. However, what is your opponent jamming here?
Yeah, I was like I tanked for like
because here's the thing. If it was a regular size raise, that would be one thing, right? He could have like ace 10, which was like a double gutter on the flop, that river's a straight. He might not think that he might think that like pocket kings is good and he wants to get some value, right? Like if I'm in your opponent's spot and I had king here, especially if I had king with a heart in it. King with a heart would be, I think, a very easy raise for me because of pre-flop. You flatted pre, right? And you flatted pre. I think it's more likely that you actually have a set, like queens, jacks, or eights. the way that this is played out, you can't have like ace king of hearts, which is another hand that maybe some people might flat in that spot because I've got the king of hearts. So I might put in a raise here for value to get called by lower sets. But there's no way it's a jam though for 1200. Like when he jams here for 1200, he is basically saying I have a flush. And here's the problem that I have with what he's trying to tell here is that, are you telling me that a guy who has the nut flush here, or like king 10 of hearts or something like that? By the way, king 10 of hearts I think might even take a pause and possibly do this if you have some ace x of hearts, although the way that the board came out, it's a little unlikely because you'd have to call with like ace x of hearts in between. But are you telling me that a guy is going to bet the flop with the nut flush and then check behind on the turn in a 3-bet pot when you have called? Remember, if I've got like ace 10 of hearts here, ace king of hearts, I bet the flop. You've called 3 bets in between. I bet the flop and you call. I've got ace king of hearts. Now the turn's a brick. Like, I know you have some piece of the board because I have the ace and the king of hearts. So you're not on a heart draw. So what's the most likely hand that you hold? It's probably a set. To be perfectly honest with you, when I block all the hearts with ace king of hearts, why on earth would I ever check back ace king of hearts here if I were to flop the gin? So when he tries to tell this story here, I don't really believe it. I got to be honest with you. Like, I know that like later street raises like this are very, very underbluffed in live poker. But when he polarizes himself to like the nut flush, I have a very, very hard time believing that this guy played the nut flush this way. And I kind of want to click the call button, not even getting a great price here, getting 1.5 to 1 for the reasons that I just talked about. And if he wanted to play, if he played the nut flush like ace 4 of hearts, ace 5 of hearts, like as a bet on the flop and a check back on the turn, I'm going to tap the table. But this kind of seems like he might be turning something into a bluff like the ace of hearts. And with your little bet, he thinks that he can get you off, like he's got like the ace of hearts blocker or something like this. I mean, this is really, really bizarre to me.
Yeah, I tanked for a while. I was even ready to like call like a smaller raise, just flicking the call. And I was really close to flicking in the call here. I was like, I tanked for probably 2 minutes, and I was just like, but I didn't think like even kings or queens would take this sizing. Like I think
No, of course
kings
not.
that just river to set.
Of course not. That's the whole point. Like I said, like if he had raised to say like 400 or 500, there's a lot more hands that beat you. I'm not saying that I necessarily would fold. It might be one of these things where you look at the pot odds. But when he takes this sizing, he's basically polarizing himself to the nut flush in this scenario. And I just don't buy it. Like it's more credible that he has you beat if he took a raise size that was smaller. Here, it just makes no sense. He's going to bet the nut flush and then check back the turn. Now, there's a couple of other things. I mean, like I said, there's a couple small stakes exploits that are going against you. One being later street raises are rarely bluffs. And then the second one being that most likely he has to turn some hand into a bluff here, like ace king with the ace of hearts or something like that, which I don't like. Ace 10 with the ace of hearts, which would be a straight. We know that was a call. But I don't like it when I'm in a situation on the river at these levels and I can figure out that a guy that I'm trying to figure out if he's bluffing or not with some sort of missed draw, and that draw is like top pair, because that tends to decrease down the bluffing frequency. But I still want to flick in call here. I got to be honest with you. What ended up happening?
Yeah, I folded. And then later after I folded, he just flipped over the ace of hearts. And then later I ended up asking him what he had, and he told me he had ace king offsuit with the ace of hearts.
If you flipped over the ace of hearts, I think you have the best hand here. I swear to God.
You think he was lying to me?
No. I think you have the best hand. I think he's telling
yeah.
the truth. I mean, whether it's ace king or whatever, but if you just flipped over the ace of hearts, yeah. I don't. It is a little bit uncommon that he would just roll over, like, you know, that he would turn ace king into a bluff, but I don't believe the story the guy is telling here with and then the half pot size bet and check back on turn.
I definitely didn't believe him. Or like I definitely believed that he turned the hand to a bluff because he was doing some wild things later on in the game.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I was like, oh man. If I could go back in time, I totally would. But
yeah. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, and check out the coupon code in the description to try out the Crush Live Poker training site for free.